Hi, welcome everybody. Beth McCarty here. Welcome to the Quick Start Basics class. This is of the 10 core commitments. This is number 7 tonight, which is a weekly core training, weekly core training. And guess what? You're doing it. You're doing core number 7 right now. You're on one right now. So this is about the fundamentals. This is about, at least what I want to speak tonight is about commitment and the basics and repetition and having the patience and coachability and consistency and persistency to learn and to practice and then to teach the basics and then to teach this to your team. So we're very glad you're here. Jeffrey David Gamble, the other co-teacher here, Jeffrey David Gamble of My Leadership Network, is on board, and Beth McCarty, coach for network marketers, also called the Shrink of MLM. So we partnered to bring you this generic training, the Quick Start Basics 10 Core Commitments, right here every Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And this is part of our generic school, the MLM Millionaire Club School for Network Marketers. Our purpose is to help people grow, to educate, equip, and empower entrepreneurs and create independent servant leaders. We're super excited for you to join us because we want to equip and empower you and entertain and educate you on the basics of building your business. Our goal of the school is to teach you how to build a strong and profitable business. And right now I'd like to welcome our new members who are on the line. And this is Dawn Schaefer is here with us tonight, and also Ashley Regal. I hope I'm saying this, or maybe you could correct me later, Ashley. Regal or Regal, who was invited by Patrick Rodriguez. And also like to welcome Jim Washaleski, a brand new member. And for those who are fairly new as well, I'm listening in tonight, Erica Tobias and Zucardi and Candy Clayton and Eamon Agrabawi. I hope I'm saying all these correctly. We welcome you all. So great that you have chosen to commit to become a professional, a network marketing professional, and to give this also to your team. So before we get started further with any more, I'd like to let you know about what we have coming up. Monday through Friday is our MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show at noon Eastern Time. We've been doing this for a year now. Every day we cover one of the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. And this coming Monday will be the Law of Connection. Touch a heart before you ask a hand. These are really cool laws, you guys. 21 principles that you can check yourself and improve yourself every time that we go through them, which is once a month, to improve your leadership skills. So this is taking it to another level. And this is open to the public. Everyone's welcome to join. A lot of people bring friends along or tag people or share in other network marketing groups. So it's real fun. Noon Eastern Time on Jeff's or my page, or you can go to the Facebook group, MLM Lunchtime Leadership Show, and you can get a free ebook of that to follow along with. And that's the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership by John Maxwell. So that's something cool that we do to give back. And on Wednesday night, though, we take this to a much deeper dive into leadership. This is an inner circle class within our school called MLM Leadership University on Wednesday nights, where we cover one book of John Maxwell's a month. We're just finishing up this big, fat book, which really contains several books within it. This Wednesday is going to be self-improvement, and the chapters that we're covering is the ongoing process of improvement. Where should I focus my time and energy? What role does experience play? And what am I willing to give up to keep growing? So very powerful. This might be my favorite part of everything that we do, is taking this deep dive into leadership with John Maxwell. Y'all are invited to this class. There is a cost for it. However, since you are a member of the school, there is a special price for you. Let's see, Tuesday, Jeff and I also do a presentation, a class for everybody at 3 p.m. Eastern Time. We tomorrow, or this Tuesday's topic is, what do I have to give up to go up? A little bit similar to that chapter 3 there. But it's about upgrading. It's about trading off something that we might like that we have now in return for something that we like better, maybe even later. It could be delayed, but it's what we have to give up to go up, to upgrade to get something better. And we actually have some treats coming up in August. Starting in August, we're going to be doing interviews with six-figure earners who will give us tips of how they got there. It's even a more, some people listen to millionaires and say, well, that's so far beyond me. So we chose these six-figure earners to give, because it's perhaps the next step for many people listening here. How do I reach six figures? And a lot of people watching on Facebook. So that will be in August. You might keep an ear out for that. And a special class that I'm teaching just privately on Tuesday nights, not part of the school, but it's called Real Conversations Class. And it will be for network marketers and all people. But it will be how to get past the blocks when you know the skills and you are still having a challenge with maybe some mindset, some mindset aspects, and that'll be a chance to get into a class with others and be able to bust those blocks, take a step forward. So you can private message me about that if you want. Although I do bring a lot of those tips to this class too, like we're going to do some of this tonight. The 10 core commitments are that we take once a week here in this class are getting started right, be here a year from now, personal development, market daily, present daily, attend a weekly presentation, attend a weekly core training, attend a monthly regional, attend all company conventions, and have a monthly massive action plan. So these sound like, oh, basic, oh, I know all these, but believe me, there's a lot of nuances to each one. And each week we cover another aspect, another angle, some very powerful details of each of these core commitments. So tonight is number 7. You're going to want to grab pen and paper because a whole lot always seems to come out and come at you. So good thing for pen and paper and good thing for replays, huh? We encourage you to attend all 10 of these classes or watch the replay. And when you do, please private message me because we have a certificate for you for that level. We have 10 levels in all. In other words, we encourage you to stay in the class until you know this so well that you can teach this to your team. So whenever you've completed 10 of these classes or their replays, you keep track of that, write that down. When you completed those, message me. We'll issue you a certificate within the Facebook group, MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group. And some people are actually on their 3rd and 4th level right now. So we encourage you to join in as well. Let's see. I could introduce, for the new people, I could introduce Jeff and me just a little bit. Jeff has personally recruited over 500 people frontline, and that keeps increasing daily, I think. And he has built teams to over 11,000 in 3 countries, in 7 countries in 3 years. And he's been in direct sales and network marketing for 24 years. So a very good person to listen to, as you will see in a few minutes. And I'm Bess McCarty, used to be full-time network marketer, helped me raise my son as a single mom, was full-time for years. So I've also built the business like that. And when my company went out of business, I went into personal growth work for my own help and also to help others. Brought this back to network marketers. Now this is my dedicated generic niche. I'm not in a company, won't be. This is my calling to be a therapist, counselor, coach for network marketers. So this is my aspect of it, kind of leaning heavier on the mindset part. Personally helped hundreds of network marketers have breakthroughs past their blocks, negative beliefs, to be all they can be. So this is what I do. We love to partner together to bring our complementary skills to you. Let's see what else. Tons of testimonials. I won't go into those right now, but grab your paper and pen, and we will dive right into the core number 7.
Okay, guys, can you hear me? Okay, for those of you who are on and listening, Dave, how are you? I see Larry's on. Becky. Steve jumped on. What's happening? Jim B's here. I know some of your numbers pretty well, Pasha. Some of them I don't know as well yet, but we'll get to know. So tonight's about core training, and you know, I'll kind of give a little bit of background on how this training came to be. Years and years and years ago, a couple guys that I know started in direct sales and MLM, one of which unfortunately just passed away in this last year at the age of 79. He was just about 80 years old. He had built one of the largest direct sales companies I personally know of. I know he had a single leg of his business that was 1.4 million people. The word is he recruited 50 people across. 25 of those legs went on to be super successful. And out of the 25, I know he had multi-millionaires in all of them. So obviously this guy was really good at what he did. 1,000 people at the top of the chart was kind of one of the things I had heard he was able to do, and put 1,000 people in their success book. And the success book in that particular company took roughly about 1,000 people on their team. So obviously no two groups are built the same, and no two people are the same. Everybody has different talents and skills, so that's something good to know. So that gentleman had basically created an 8-step pattern. That was one of the first things that I learned. That 8 steps, really quickly, is number 1, the dream. Number 2, commitment. You have to make some commitments. It just said make some commitments. They never really went into exact description of what those commitments were, but I can give you some of the commitments here in a minute. The next was make a list. You need an ongoing list. After the list, you're going to need to learn how to contact and invite people. That was 4. 5 was the presentation. 6 was the follow-up. 7 was counsel upline, or, you know, meet with an accountability partner that's above you on, you know, up the chain of command somewhere that's at a level, here's the key, that's at a level beyond where you're at. 2 people who are new sitting around talking about what they don't know how to do is not helpful. So a lot of companies say, get a workout partner, and what people do is they get somebody just as ignorant as they are, and the 2 of you try to come up with 25 ways not to do the business the right way, and it does. I don't know if you've ever done this before, but I've done that, where we sat around and talked about all the things that, well, let's try this, well, let's try, and all we did was try stuff that didn't work, and neither one of us were listening to anything that was, you know, that went on, but we had the best ideas, right? You know, our ideas were amazing. You could tell by all the results we were producing. I had a lot of, you know, Benjamin Franklin type results in finding the light bulb, you know, 1,001 ways not to do it. So from there, the last one is repeat and teach, which really involved leadership. So let's get back to this, the dream. The number 1 thing that you really want to figure out is, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? If you don't really know why you're doing it, eventually what happens is you question why you're doing it, and until you solve that, usually you don't move forward, usually you don't take action. I can give you the basics of, you know, I've heard this in many, many different seminars in many different ways, but there's a couple things you can always talk to people about when you're talking to people about their why. Some people get into, you know, real specific, but I'm just going to give you some basic things. The first thing that I usually hear is money. Of course, people need to make more money, and I'll give you some real specifics on that one here in a minute, but the number 1 is money, number 2 is time, number 3 is security, and number 4 is helping people. Those are usually the reasons most people give on why they're building the business. If you want to get into more specifics, Robert Kiyosaki, who is a best-selling author, speaker, trainer on financial literacy, the writer of Rich Dad, Poor Dad. If you've read that book, it's amazing. Great book. Basically said everyone has about 4 enemies that we're all trying to figure out. Number 1 is debt. The number 1 enemy of most people is debt. Debt and the payments and interest you're making on your debt is usually one of the greatest things that's taking us out. He's like, think about it. Your savings account right now is 0.03%. It's not even 8%. It's usually 0.03%, which means technically savers are losers. That's how he put it. I didn't put it that way. That's how he put it. Savers are losers. And the reason he says savers are losers is if you do basic math, inflation, which is the second thing that he says you have, or actually it's the third thing. The third problem everybody has is inflation. The second one is taxes. So it's debt, taxes, inflation, are the first three problems that every single one of us deal with. And he said the reason why savers are losers is because if inflation's going up at 1% and your saving rate is 0.03%, you're going backwards. So technically you would be better to take your money and throw it underneath your bed and use it when you need it than put it in a savings account. A savings account, savers are losers in life. The problem is we've all been taught that saving is a good idea. And by the way, I'm not a financial planner. I don't have that background. I have read a lot of books specifically on finances, and I've basically lost more money than most people have ever made inside of direct sales by doing things wrong. So I do have some knowledge. Beth says she's also played that role. I played the role in real estate to the tune of about negative $3.5 million. That was what the bankruptcy report at least said. So I've screwed it up and screwed it up bad. I've lost quite a bit. Beth understands that as well. So I lost and lost hard. But I've also made a ton of money. And I've read a lot of books on where to put it and what to do. And so far my money's been making me money. I do have checks that come in from at least 5 different sources right now, which is kind of cool. Several of those are passive income, which is great. That's the best kind, passive. Not where you pass it along, but where it just comes in. So you've got debt, you've got taxes. Taxes are the second problem, and the reason you have to get a hold of your taxes is, as Robert Kiyosaki put this, the greatest thing you pay out is actually your taxes. A lot of people don't know that. If you kind of do the math on it, between state and federal taxes, that is actually your biggest expense. It usually is beyond housing, it's beyond your car, it's beyond food, it's beyond everything else. So if you do not figure out and control your taxes, taxes will basically eat you alive. And if you try to play games with the IRS, they have cool ways of shutting everything down until you figure it out, including arresting you. So, just figure that one out. Make sure you hire good people, the right people, and make sure you have some kind of a game plan to play the tax game the right way. The third was inflation. You do have to worry about inflation because the cost of things is going up, necessarily, not usually, at the same rate as your money, which is a problem. So you have to obviously balance that one out. And the last one that I hear again and again and again is one of the #1 reasons why people join direct sales is retirement. People want to retire early. People want to retire well. People want to retire on more than 40% of what they could live on to begin with. People don't want to work until they die. So, and they don't want to leave their family with debt, and they don't want to leave their family with expenses, and they don't want to leave their family with problems. So, retirement is another issue. Now, I recently have been studying and reading, mainly studying, a gentleman by the name of Dan Luck. Dan Luck is like one of the new success gurus in the industry. That's D-A-N. Dan, and Luck is L-U-C, or Luke, Dan Luke. Super cool guy. Wrote a couple books I just won't mention the name of because they have some really crazy titles, but you can look it up. But what he was able to do is he said he goes, I'm going to talk to you about 3 incomes. And I'm going to talk to you about 3 incomes and the way out of the situation you're in right now. This is basically how to get out. And this is one of the reasons why. I've actually been sharing this with people before I actually present to them in my network marketing company. I said, look, we all have these problems, right? We all have debt, And most people shake their head. And I said, we all have problems with taxes. And everyone's like, oh, yeah. And I said, we all have problems with inflation. Do you know what inflation is? And they're like, I think I've seen inflation. Inflation, the stuff out on the, I'm like, no, not that. That's it, inflation, you know, the rate at which money changes. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, inflation. And I said, and then retirement. And they're like, yeah, I kind of think about that too. I said, well, what Dan Lux says is you basically, number one, you need a high-paid skill. He goes, you really want to find something that you can do, something technically that you can do to earn more money. And he said, you know, if you're inside the Midwest, you probably need $100,000. The closer you get to the coast, it goes to $150,000. If you're on the coast, it probably goes to $200,000 a year. If you're in a super expensive major city, you know, a Dallas, Texas, you're probably going to need closer to 150, 200, just because the closer you are to one of these major cities, top 10 cities in population, the more expensive things are. And he said the reason you want to make that kind of money is not to get rich. And if you realize that most people who make six figures are not rich. What they are is they're comfortably miserable. And what I mean by comfortably miserable is they have a lot of the same things, like I wish I could do this, I wish I could do that, but they don't have the means. Because why? Because if you make $100,000 a year, you buy what $100,000 a year can buy, which is a nicer house, nicer cars, a nicer wardrobe. You might send your kids to a nicer school, but it doesn't give you the freedom to do whatever you want. When you make $30,000 a year, most of the time, most of us have a feeling that we could, right? San Francisco, you need $650. That's true, just to live comfortably. Unless you want to live on somebody's couch, and then, you know, it works out. And again, you want to get control of your taxes, because if you make six figures, I was just talking to a friend of mine who's an accountant. I said, aren't you roughly walking away with somewhere between $65,000 and $68,000 depending on your deductions? And she's like, yeah, that's actually about right. I said, which is, you know, roughly $6,500, you know, about $6,000 a month, you know, $5,500 to $6,000 a month is what you're taking home. And she's like, yeah, that's actually accurate. And I said, so when you look at those numbers and you try to kind of work this out, that's not really a good thing, right? I mean, that's all the money you have left over. So he says, you want a high-paid skill to pay your bills. He goes, $100,000 in the Midwest, $150,000 in a major city, $200,000 when you're on the coast. He goes, we'll get you a house in most cases. It'll get you a house. It'll get you a car. It'll get you a cell phone. It'll put food on the table. It'll put gasoline in the car. And from there, you kind of have to be smart with the rest of it because you can burn through it really fast and you have great credit. Great credit will allow you what? Great credit will allow you debt, more debt, a lot of debt. And most people are in debt because most people were sold the idea of what? Go to school, get good grades, get a good job, buy a house, get married, get in debt, get in debt. I mean, really, the plan is stay alive long enough to get in debt and then keep going in debt until you die. I mean, that's really the plan that's usually being sold out there. And a lot of people are like, wow, I guess I never looked at it like that. But if you really write down, you know, what we've all been influenced to do, that's really the trap that most people get in. Have any of you ever taken a class in high school called, you know, Financial Wealth 101 or Financial Success 101? I mean, most people have never taken that. Most people have never taken it in high school. Most people never took it in college. Most people never took it in their master's or anywhere else. It's not until you get into a business that starts saying, hey, let's move forward, let's move on, let's do this better than what's being taught, let's raise the standard. So Dan starts out by saying, and I think we hammered the fact that you need to make more money. You need to make more money. So two, the second thing that he lists is SB. SB. And that does not stand for son of a. It stands for scalable business. A scalable business. And there's a bunch of different things out there that you can do, right? Scalable business. A scalable business would be like an internet business, a drop shipping business. A scalable business would be a MLM, a multi-level marketing business, or a network marketing business, or a direct sales business. It's something that you can start and continuously grow. Scalable business. You advertise more, you bring in more business, you do more volume, you make more money. That's the idea. Those are scalable businesses. You know, could real estate be scalable? Yeah, kind of, some. There are some direct sales ones, you know. Is insurance? Yeah, some. Financial services? Yeah, some. So they're out there. So that's part of it. Scalable business. Now, what do you do with the money? What most people do in direct sales, and I'm just going to kind of tell on our industry, and this is bad. What I'm going to tell you is not a good thing, but I want to tell you because it's accurate. 80% of people who hit $100,000 in 1 year in network marketing never do it again. A lot of people don't know that. Now, let me tell you why that happens, and it'll totally make sense. Most people get in the industry, and they struggle for a while. So it was like, me. I'm like, yes, us. We struggle for a while. And then eventually, from being in long enough, from going to enough trainings, from jumping from company to company, if you've done that, hopefully you haven't had to, but if you jump from company to company, you're signed up in 13 things and tried all of them, you finally meet enough people and you go along long enough where you start getting something called takeoff momentum. You know, you start working, you start doing the right things at the right time with the right people in the right company with the right products, and you start taking off. This happens in all businesses. And all of a sudden you figure out the right things to do and it starts growing. Now, whether that be you just doing the right thing, or you happen to recruit a couple of the right people, or the company happens to be in the right place, you start working towards this goal, and your goal is what? Your goal is to get to 100 grand. Everything is about getting to $100,000. In the industry, it's pretty common. And you run, and finally, you stretch yourself. You exhaust your list. You exhaust everything you've got to get to 100 grand. And then you know what most people do? Most people stop doing the things that got them to 100 grand. Why? Because now you're recognized, right? Now you're recognized as one of the people who's made 100 grand. So now you get to go to the special banquet. Now you get to sit up front. Now you get flown in to speak. Now you get all this recognition. Now you get asked to be on a call. And you stop doing the things that got you to 100 grand, which was the work. What is the work inside of direct sales and network marketing? I put this up on my page, and some people agreed with me who make money, and other people flipped out who haven't made money. I thought it was really funny, the responses. But the only job inside the industry that we all have is really to present to a new person. When I say it's the only job, it's the main job. That is the main job. And people are like, yeah, but you're supposed to promote, and you're supposed to go to conventions. Yeah, all that's true. But to expand the business and make money, you have to present to a new person. That's what you do. And really, that's the number one thing you should always be doing, because that's setting the example of what to do for everybody else. And it's easy. Watch this. I heard this recently. It's easiest to follow a leader that does exactly what they're asking you to do. Right? I mean, that's the easiest person. Because it's like, well, they're telling us to do it, and that's what they're doing, and they're succeeding. So therefore, eventually, you want to keep doing. I was also told this: consistency is the greatest thing you can possibly ever give your team. Consistency. Now, why is that? Because eventually people are like, well, dang, this person's been saying the exact same thing for months, weeks, years, and it's still working. They're succeeding. So eventually you get to the point where, like, all these other crazy ideas that I'm coming up with, maybe I should just do what's working. So Dan talked about the scalable business, or Dan Luck. Dan Luck talked about the scalable business and building the scalable business and this income. And what most people do is most people trade the scalable income for their high-paid skill. For instance, they quit their job in massage therapy, they quit their job in real estate, they quit their job in insurance, they quit their job as a teacher, they quit their job as an engineer, and they switch out to be a full-time network marketer, because a full-time network marketer sounds really cool. Sounds amazing. Here's why it's not so amazing. Because when you're making $1,000, $2,000, $4,000, $6,000, even $8,000 part-time, that sounds amazing. But when you're making $2,000 and it's full-time and you're stressed out about closing the next person, because if you don't close the next person, you can't maintain your level and stay at the level in your company that pays out at that commission, it is not cool. It's not cool. It's not fun. seen it happen, and I've done it. Only I was making more like $5,000, but it was still bad. It was better than a lot of stress that I've had to go through. It was the stress I was in, and my other thing was just awful. So I traded one stress for another. But what if you didn't trade? I wasn't taught this up front, or I would have done it. I was kind of in the process of trying to do it. I just didn't understand how to make it work. When Dan laid this out in a plan, I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Number one, high-paid skill. Number two, scalable business. The money you make in your scalable business isn't there to replace your job. It isn't there to replace your high-paid skill. It's there to go into the third account. The third account is something called high ROI. High ROI, return on investment. And this is something every single person on this call should start thinking about. Is what are you going to take the money and go put it into so you never, the key word is never, have to go build anything ever again. Jim Rohn talks about this, about building a financial wall big enough that no one can ever get to you again. He says, I want you to make $1 million. I want you to make $1 million not for the money, not for the prestige, not to post it online, but I want you to make that amount of money for the person you have to become to get there. That's the reason. And what I would challenge everybody to do is, what about putting away a certain amount of money inside of a high ROI? Now, a lot of people are like, I've never heard this terminology before. I don't know what that means. What is this about? And ROI stands for return on investment. 10% is the minimum that you're looking for. 10% is the minimum you're looking for. Now, I'm not here to tell you what to go into because that's up to you. But I want to talk about just kind of a plan, like a generic plan of what to do, high ROI. So there's a financial rule called the rule of 7-2. Some people call it 72, but it's literally the rule of 7-2. And the rule of 7-2 states that every 7 years, at a 10% rate of return, your money will double. That's compounding interest. Like if you ever hear Warren Buffett talk about the two things that has made him like the billionaire that he is, the two things that have made him the billionaire he is compounding interest, and he said good genes, because he's lived long enough for the money to keep doubling. And if you go back and you look at a chart at Warren Buffett's life and his income, you can actually watch this happen about every 7 years, on top of the fact that he made really smart decisions. So I'm not taking away from his smart decisions. I'm not taking away from his business intellect. But I will tell you, he was absolutely correct. Compounding interest paid off, and so did long life. So the rule of 7-2 states that if you put a certain amount of money in, I'm going to use a really easy figure for everybody. I'm going to use $10,000, which may seem like $1 million to some people on here. It may seem like not enough money to others, but $10,000 is a real easy number to work with, just for this example. Let's say through your network marketing business, you were able to put $10,000 away, just for instance, and you were able to put it in an investment that earned 10% annually compound interest. You have to go find what that is. It's different for everybody. But if you did, and it worked out in perfect scenario, 7 years from today, in 2026, that $10,000 would turn into $20,000 without adding another dollar to the original $10,000. It would just double. It would just double. 7 years from then, so we'd be 2006, add 4, now you're at 2030, subtract 3, 2033, you'd have $40,000, which wouldn't be bad. At 2040, you'd have 80,000, and 47, you would have 160,000. Now, that's if you worked with 10,000. If you put $100,000 away today, you'd have 200,000, 400,000, 800,000. You'd have 1.6 million. It takes 28 years with compounding interest at 10% to turn $100,000 into 1.6 million. 1.6, yes. That's perfect scenario. Everybody that I've shown this to asks me the exact same question. They're like, where do I find the money to do this? And I said, look back at the SB. Look back at the scalable business. Your scalable business is not there. Your network marketing company is not there to do anything to your lifestyle other than build this nest egg. And the people that I've found who have become the wealthiest inside the industry took almost all of the money that they made from their network marketing business and started dumping it into something that was a big ROI. I just drew this out for two friends of mine, and actually two teammates of mine. I just drew this out, and we did it with real estate because all three of us liked real estate. And I said, look, if you worked your network marketing business and you started putting away $1,600 a month, which isn't $1 million, $1,600 in 5 years, you have $100,000. Now, some months you might only be able to put together $800, and maybe another month in your business you did really well and you got $2,000, and maybe you hit a level in your business where you got a $10,000 bonus. You're like, I'm taking 8 of it and putting it away. I got to get to 100 as fast as possible. And we put $100,000 aside, and I said, look, in 30 years you're retired. And he's like, yeah, but I'm 50. I said, how many people live till they're 80? I said, let's look up the number. A lot of people are living to 80. And they said if you can live an extra 25 years, the chance of you living an extra 20 years beyond that is really good. Because of modern medicine, because of the things that have come out, because of, hopefully, nutrition. If not, they'll hook you up to some machine and keep you alive. Quality of life is also important. I'm not, doubting that. But if you can live an extra 25 years, the chance of you being able to live an extra 20 years is really, really good based on what I've read. So that gives you, think about it, every 20 years gives you 3 chances to double your money based on this number. Now what's interesting is if you go to 12%, it cuts it to 6 years. If you can get to 15%, you can cut it to 5 years. I mean, it is a mathematical formula where you can start doubling your money. But there's 2 things. Number one, where is the money going to come from? I think it should come from your network marketing business, your direct sales business. Why do I think that? Because if you look statistically out there, most people aren't able to do this just with their job. Your job was not built to do it. So that's kind of the biggest thing that I want to share tonight. Now let's get into the details of actually building. Why a core training? A core training is basically there to teach the basics kind of more in depth. The 10 core are there, but let's break down each one of the 10 core. Getting started right. Are there some 1% things to getting started right? Sure, there's probably 3 dozen, 4 dozen little 1% things that you can do to get people started right. The energy level, being able to identify personalities, being able to understand Maslow's law, being able to influence people. Inside of our trainings, we talked about image, we talked about influence, we talked about how to cut your hair, everything. Because there are articles and stuff out there, if you want to influence people, there is a certain look that works. Did you know color-wise, the colors you wear influence people? Some people know this. The most relatable for a guy is a dark blue suit, white shirt, and red tie. That's the most relatable. If you go black, it's a power-based thing. It might come across too strong, but the most relatable is blue. If you look at most business people who are trying to just, kind of get out there and speak, if you look at a lot of public speakers, if you look at a lot of network marketing speakers, if you look at a lot of professional motivational speakers, that's usually pretty common. For girls, it's usually a darker color, black, navy blue. You know, there are certain things that stand out, that grab attention. I was told you never want to wear colors. This is for guys. I was told you never want to wear a color of a suit that also is the color of an exotic fruit. If your suit is passion fruit or kiwi or, you know, I mean, some other, you know, exotic, you know, cranberry spice latte, blah, blah, blah. Like, it's just too much. That's not going to work. And in a lot of cases nowadays, people aren't wearing suits as much inside of network marketing. But I can tell you, if you're struggling, dress it up. Simple, dress it up. Because here's what happens. When you dress up, you usually feel different. When you dress up, what happens is people actually treat you different. And I'll give you a perfect example. If I walked into, and I've done this before, if I walked into a restaurant and I was dressed in my massage clothes, which is basically a t-shirt or tank top and running pants, I'm treated one way. I showed up after an event in basically a suit and tie with a vest, dress shoes. My hair was still pulled back, but it was really, really nice and tight and, you know, not crazy. And I got seated, and the lady's like, "Oh my gosh, Jeff!" Like, she didn't recognize me. What that means is they're not looking at you; they're looking at the image of you. This is a person that I see on a regular basis. We eat at the same place a lot. She didn't recognize me because of the rest of the people who are around me and how I was dressed. So that's how important it is. And you're out there trying to market and trying to bring people on board and trying to influence people. I can put it this way: if you're not dressed one notch above the people you're trying to recruit, the chance of you recruiting them goes down. That's a kick in the head, right, for some of us? Because I was like, what do you mean I have to dress up to do this? Well, I'm saying it helps, it improves. Facial hair on a guy is an issue. We've talked about this before. Facial hair for years and years and years inside of the movies was always the villain. And unfortunately, people still look at that. It still comes across that way. That's why you see most people who are doing well. I mean, if I look across the board at the people I know who are at the very top of the companies, you don't see a lot of full beard, motorcycle riding looking people, you know, country, you know. Although that's popular with some, you know, some people, it's popular in some companies, but overall, I got a pretty good view of the entire industry. Overall, it's not as popular. It happens, but what I found is the builders don't have it, but the people may have already succeeded do. If you're just speaking from stage, but you're not out building anymore, you find them to be more likely to be a little bit more relaxed and do wild things in general. So that's one of the things we go over training about: getting started right, getting people started right, what you look like, how you dress. The next core commitment, you know, stick with it. I could tell you story after story after story personally of people that I know who just stuck in there long enough and finally hit that one person and their business started to succeed, and all of a sudden that one person gave them the belief that this was going to work, and then all of a sudden they recruited the other 25 people they needed to get to where they were going, and then it took off for them. And they eventually ended up as one of the speakers at our events, one of the money makers, doing it long enough. So you get personal development daily. There's so much good personal development out there. I would just say, you know, find your thing, find your people. We could go on, you know, for hours what everybody's read here and what's good and what's bad. But personal development, you know, obviously there's a whole list of stuff out there. I don't want to go into it. The fourth thing, market daily. Again, there's thousands of ways to market. I just try to look for the simplest and easiest. Present daily. You know, the 5 things that we need to cover inside of a presentation, and we can go on with all the 1% things. Attend a business briefing to kind of stay in touch, in tune, to keep that edge. You attend your core training to keep that edge. and relate to the people. What it also does is it shows your commitment to everybody that you're trying to recruit. If you're trying to recruit people and you tell people, I'm in this to win, and they know you have a meeting on Thursday, and you're like, yeah, I'm not going, I'm going to go to the movie premiere instead, they're like, this person isn't serious. It isn't a verbal thing that they're going to say out loud. It's just they know. You know, oh, your national convention's coming and you're not going? What do you mean you're not going? That's not optional. That's not optional. I mean, not if you're going to, I mean, you're in the business of convincing people that you're all in, convincing people that they should get in with you, convincing people, but you're not going to your national convention? What? Why? Well, I just don't have the commitment. Yeah. You don't have the commitment. And then we've got the MAP, the Massive Action Plan. What to do, how to do, when to do, what to track. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bess. And I got to unmute you. There we go.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. That's a lot to digest, and I love how you suggested that the network marketing business can be not a way to get out of your job just as soon as you can, but a way to invest. And yes, better, yeah, the job is not meant to do that. A lot of people, I've talked to some people who've reached an older age and they said, I didn't expect to live this long, surprise, that they did. And one fellow says, I have to go back to work now to outlive my age, you know, to afford my age. So let us not be surprised, let us plan, and let us use the network marketing for the investment. So 2 questions with investment. One is where you get the money, and now we know where. But the second question is how do you find a good ROI, at least a 10% ROI? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So I know Grant Cardone says real estate. But that's, yeah, that would be another thing to learn, another art of investing, and where you can do it securely and safely. So that's your why. We have the how. It just struck me the other day in talking with some of our new students here that, oh my gosh, network marketing is the top of the business, the best business in the world. And I'm not just saying this, but a whole bunch of financial experts have said this. Eric Worre interviewed a whole bunch of people, Paul Zane Pilsner and John Assaraf and the Shark Tank guy, Kevin Harrington, and a whole bunch of people, financial experts, on his DVD, the documentary, Rise of the Entrepreneur. And all of these people, including Tony Robbins, Warren Buffett, Robert Kiyosaki, Bob Proctor, and also Richard Branson, highly, highly praised network marketing as many say, it's the best business in the world and has the greatest return on investment. That makes sense if you look at the, under $100,000 to get into it and look at its creative multimillionaires. So I'm realizing that network marketing is the very pinnacle, the very top of all businesses in its return on investment and its low, but not only low startup, but the training on the job. You can make more money quicker in network marketing than you can by going to school, getting into $100,000 debt or whatever. I think the average now is $30,000 for a student loan, but many walk away with $60,000. And how long will that take to pay it off? And it takes about 10 years average for a franchise to begin being profitable. It's not like that in network marketing. You could make, I bet, $1 million within the first 7 or 10 years, rather than start at zero after 10 years, like a franchise would let you start at zero to make a profit. By that time, you could be a millionaire in network marketing with the same amount of effort because you won't have the debt to pay off meanwhile. So it just sits at the top of the business world. And then I look what Jeff and I are presenting here, and I am convinced that what you are getting right now, what you're getting in the school and what this teaching sits at the top of the network marketing training as far as results that people get. I used to teach from Eric Worre's book for 10 years in my school, the MLM Millionaire Club, School for Network Marketers, that I ran for 10 years. And believe it or not, there are people in this school who've been in it for 10 years. And why is that? Why do they stay? They're getting something from it. They're getting results. You know, it's paying them much more than they're paying in, right? So, but then when I met Jeff about 6 years ago, and a year ago found out what he was doing and asked him if we could teach together. He had thought of starting a school as well, so we combined forces. Now, together with what we're doing, it is better than any other method that I've seen out there. So if you believe me that network marketing sits at the very top of businesses, and if you can grasp that what we're teaching is the very top of that, I think we're going to have millions in the school one day. Once we get the word out enough and market it enough, because I've never seen something get as greater results as the Faber method and the 10-minute presentation that we're teaching. And who knows, it might even evolve further from being tested in the field. And things always evolve, things always better, right? So it might even improve. The methods that we teach might even improve and get quicker results and better than ever. But I want to acknowledge you for being in the right business, the best business in the world as far as I'm concerned. And I've challenged people to show me a better one. They haven't shown me. And I want to acknowledge you for being in the best method in network marketing. And I've challenged people to show me a better method than Jeff's Faber method. Haven't been able to find one. So, and my method of helping network marketers break through blocks is the quickest, fastest, easiest I've ever seen. One comparison would be, you know, for the mindset part and all that, I have coached people who have said, wow, in one session I got farther than I did with my psychotherapist who I was seeing weekly for 3 years. One session broke through much, much faster. One session with you and using this method that I do and that I teach. So that says a lot. We do not need to slug through having it go slow. It can happen fast. It can have breakthroughs. It can happen instantly. And I love helping people to do that. It's the best, fastest method I've ever seen, and if I know a better one, I'll use that. But for now, this is simply the best. Compares with its speed and what I've seen Tony Robbins do in his seminars, helping people have breakthroughs right there within an hour. So happy to be an advocate for this profession, happy to be in the school. Why do we repeat the 10 core basics? Because the consistency, that repetition, Tony Robbins says repetition is the mother of success. So why we repeat it, why we do the 10 core training, why we ask you to stay in it, why we ask you to watch it every time and let us know when you've done 10, and then again and again and again when you've done 10 times to get your 10th level certificate. Why are we asking you to do that? Because there's so much to learn. There's so many depths and nuances, and it will seem new to you at each level that you grow. It will, you'll hear this in a different way this month than you did 2 months ago when we went through this class. And you'll hear it in a different way 2 months from now when you hear the same class again. It'll presented a slightly different angle and depth and details and all that, but you will be a different person with different needs and different experiences. So every time you go through it, you're going to get something at a different level and a new level. And this learning goes on for a lifetime. See, that's why people have been in the school 10 years, and we'll see, the next 10 years will be quite a family here, getting to know each other, quite a familiar family. So this repetition, this consistency, this depth, and I look at it like a tree that grows its roots and grows deep. And to the degree that it can, am I hearing an echo there? Yeah, thank you, Larry. Okay. Yeah, to the degree that a tree grows its roots, can it produce its branches and flowers and fruits to feed the world? Can it produce that much? So a tree often looks the same above ground as below ground if you could have X-ray vision and look through to those roots. So we are encouraging you to grow roots rather than pull up your roots and walk over here and start growing them in a different training, a different teacher, or a different company. If you can, stay in the same company. We invite you to stay in here and get the depth that a tree will to get strong and deep. Now, we talked about the why and the how, and I want to talk about what could make you quit. You know, if this 10 core commitment here, number 7, is attend a weekly core training, what could make you quit attending this training? Some people have, and they told me the reasons are, well, I just got busy doing other things, or my life is real busy right now, or I've got so much going on. Well, that tells me that this is not a priority over those other things. So they didn't always share what they were, but sometimes it's that they weren't ready to run. I think they weren't ready to go as to even to learn, to pay attention, or they didn't have the patience or the coachability to stay with it and learn. So that could knock you out of the game. But think, what could make you quit quit attending the 10 core commitments, the core trainings? Some people say time, money, or maybe it's self-esteem. They're not sure they can do it. But I'll tell you, it's never really time or money. It's usually the believing in themselves, or having a strong enough why, or strong enough commitment to do it. So I just want to ask you to take up a pen and paper and write down now, what could make you quit? What could knock you out of the game of this training? Or what could knock you out of the game of your company? Or being active in your company, or going for it and trying? Is it you forget your why? Is it that you're comfortable? You get complacent? Or you get tolerant of the level of finances that you live on, and you say, well, I guess I'm okay here. I'm fine here. I don't need to grow. I'm doing okay. And maybe that's like the frog, you know, could you be possibly like the frog in the water, that they just turn it up a degree at a time, and the frog does not get alarmed because he doesn't notice the change, and all of a sudden he's cooked. I look at that as inflation. Inflation is always turning up the heat, and I think that it's harder to make the same amount of money now than it used to be. Well, not just because of inflation, but also because the middle class is slowly disappearing, and people are slowly, because of inflation and all, they're slowly needing to make more and more money, or spend more and more time making that money, more energy, and their pay increases. The cost of living does not go up as fast as inflation. Therefore, there's this gap, and it's harder to make the money. But when they do it slowly, and they turn up, you know, the inflation slowly, a little here and a little there, we get cooked without really realizing that we're being cooked until we wake up one day and we realize that, oh my gosh, I am one medical emergency away from bankruptcy. And medical bills are the one thing that knock most people out. One of our newer members, Candy Clayton, was telling me that she knows a man who came to her for help in her healing business, and he had cancer, and he was completely penniless. She said he went through $400,000 of his savings. And one reason she'd like to do network marketing, hope this is okay to say, Candy, is that she would like to be able to treat people who can't afford her to treat them. These people did good in their life. They may have invested. They may have gotten up to $500,000, you know, and saved that money, or invested that money, or had that money, but the medical thing wiped them out. So, good idea to have the plan B. It's a good idea to become a multimillionaire, you guys. It'll leave a lot of things open, a lot of more options open, and could save lives. Could save your life or a loved one. I know someone that recently got lymphoma, tried different natural methods, decided, you know, finally located a healing center to go to, and the cost would have been $35,000, and it did not have that money saved up, so they did a GoFundMe, but before the money could even be collected, he passed away. So it moved fast. That might have been meant to be, and all part of the divine plan, which I know it was. But look at that as an option. You know, if you needed that money, would you have it? So, yeah, medical, car wrecks, legal experiences, legal suing can wipe people out. We don't know how much we need, but network marketing can sure give you a big hedge, can't it? So, okay, so what could knock you out of the game? What could make you quit? I think it's forgetting your why, or not having a big enough why, or not knowing about the urgencies that could present themselves. What if your son or daughter got cancer and it was $500,000 to save their life? You know, would you have that? I don't know what it costs, but what if an operation or special treatment or something like that, or flying them for a special doctor to treat them? What if you had the money? What if money was no object and you go, do it? Yeah, let's get her there as soon as possible and get that treatment, and it was able to save a life. You know, you'd be thanking your network marketing business by that time. And we don't know what we're going to need, but we do our best. Napoleon Hill says, you know, don't stress yourself out. Don't let what I'm saying tonight, or Jeff saying, don't let it stress you and worry you and all that, but let it help you expect the worst. Prepare for the worst, but expect the best. So we happily do what we can, and we be happy with what we're able to make without stress. So we're not saying stress, work, kill yourself, and all this stuff, but we're saying think differently, think out of your comfort zone, think bigger, not only to take care of yourself and your family, but what about the rest of the world? Have a friend who builds schools for children in Africa. I think he's built about 8 schools. Went over there and got his picture taken with the kids, and they love him and everything. He's able to do that. How do you think that makes him feel? When he could have said, oh, I could have just, or shall I just watch TV and not build my network marketing business? I'll just watch TV tonight. By the way, there's always tomorrow. So let me watch TV tonight. Tomorrow I'll build my network marketing business. That's actually the greatest enemies of network marketers, is that tomorrow thing, you know, putting it off. And maybe that's why John Maxwell recommended that W. Clement Stone, that you know, we might even try what he did. He was a business tycoon who made his fortune in insurance, and before he'd get out of bed every morning, what he would do is he'd say, do it now, do it now, do it now. I guess it's like Nike, right? But he'd say, do it now 50 times every morning before he got out of bed. And then the last thing he'd do at night, after he'd get into bed, the last thing he'd do is he would say, do it now 50 times. So what could happen if you tried that? I haven't tried that yet, but maybe I will. Do it now. And don't think there's always tomorrow. And anyway, there might not be. There's illnesses that happen suddenly, like my friend with lymphoma, and there's car wrecks that happen. We might not have all the tomorrows that we think. You know, I have a son and a granddaughter on the way. I want to be able to spend time. I want to be able to do things with these people and take them on trips and make memories and everything. And what if I think, oh, there's plenty of time to do that? There might not be. You know, I better do everything now that I want to do now, because I really don't know how much time each of us have left. They say that people on their deathbed have greater regrets what they didn't do than what they did do. So release the holes, release the bars, let yourself dream bigger, just think bigger. Sometimes it's just adding zeros to your goals, and put the things that we teach into action. Do the 2 to 5 presentations a day, or if you're going to go out and do a challenge, you know, do up to 10 a day, and then follow up with those. Anyway, if you wrote down what could make you quit, what could knock you out of the game, that's what you can be bought for. That's all life has to throw at you to get you to quit, get you to stop. That would be your price. What you can be bought for. A little discouragement, a little fear of what people think of you, a little bad comment that somebody makes of you within the company, a little laziness, a little tolerance, a little complacency. And then ask, who would you let down if you were knocked out of the game? What would that cost you over time? What you could have given your family, the experiences, the memories, the help, the support, maybe save a life. Certainly peace of mind, health, sleep, joy of life. Nope, money isn't everything. It's being together and all that, but money eases the way a lot of times and is able to provide things that sometimes money can't. Sometimes money needs to provide food and medicine or utilities or shelter or an easier life, being able to do things easier. So what would the cost be to the people that, who would you be letting down? If you let something knock you out of the game, who would you be letting down? Doesn't mean it has to be network marketing. It could be some other scalable business. But if you give up, it's a different feeling to you too than if you say, I'm going to get to the top or die along the way. I asked my sister today, what are my 3 greatest strengths and what are my 3 greatest weaknesses? First off, she goes, oh, you're persistent. You hang on like a bulldog, you don't let go. You're persistent, you keep going, and sometimes I can be too stubborn. I can let go longer when I should have let go of something go maybe. But yeah, I guess I'm optimistic, and I have in my mind that you get in your mind something and you don't let go of it. You hang on until it's accomplished or I haven't died yet, but you know what? The greatest reward of all is the person I'm becoming on the way to getting there. And that is really, I think, the reason that I do it. How I feel because of going for something versus how I would feel if I gave up and gave in, and I think then I would just die inside. So it's who you become on the way to that million, but who you become on the way, the strength, the person, the rough edges that get knocked off, and the skills that you get on the way there. So there's different fears that we face along the way. Every one of us does. If you got fear in you right now, or you feel like you're hitting a ceiling of fear that could knock you out of the game, or at least keep you where you are, keep you stuck from moving forward, then you're not alone. All of us got this. And there's different fears. There's fears of getting past the uncomfortable. And I wanted to address that. How do you get past the uncomfortable? Well, as a therapist, an inner child therapist, what I recommend is that you write down the voices. What voices are going through your head when you want to get out of your comfort zone and into the uncomfortable, into the new? What voices are going through your head? They won't like me. They'll say, oh, you failed again. They'll criticize me. My friends won't like me because they're not, I'm outdoing them. Or they'll feel guilty that they're not working that hard or making that much money. They'll feel inferior to me, and I'll lose all my friends. What are the voices going on inside? I'm not good enough. I don't deserve success. Who am I to want this? I can never do anything right. See, life's against me again. Because that's the way life is. I'm just bad luck. I have bad luck and I am bad luck. So what is going through your head? What is the internal voices saying? From that, you can look and see, well, what do I need underneath that? What need is that voice trying to meet? Is it trying to meet, does it need self-esteem? Does it need skills? If I say, well, I'm not good enough, I don't know how to do that, I can't do that, I can't do that. And I actually counseled a guy one time. His father always said to him, you'll never be able to amount to anything, you can't do that. And he always was picking on his weaknesses. So whenever the guy was successful in business, he'd have a car accident. And it would wipe him out. Knock him out for about a year of healing or injuries and all this stuff. And then he'd get well again, and then he'd start climbing again. and start getting successful, but somehow that internal voice kept saying, you can't be successful. What are you doing being successful? You're not supposed to be. You never will be. And boom, he'd have a car accident again, but it would never be his fault. It would always be somebody hitting him. And this was parallel with his father hitting him with these comments again and again. I don't think he physically hit him, but with these comments, he knocked him down all the time. When the boy tried to get up, you know, emotionally or self-esteem, he'd knock him down again, hit him again, hit him again. And his chiropractor started noticing, hey, this man comes to me once a year with a car accident. Could there possibly be some weird psychological way that he's attracting this to him all this time? So he sent him over to me. And sure enough, we worked, we uncovered what was there, and he never had another car accident. So this stuff can be changed. Anyone can change it, no matter how deep it is. This stuff was acquired and learned somewhere, and it can be unlearned. So that's the good news. So there could be fear of getting past the comfortable. By the way, once you figure out what the need is underneath that, is it self-esteem? We worked on his self-esteem a lot. We worked more than just one session. But it was just maybe 5 to 10 sessions that we did. It was a little while back. But he never had another car accident. He had a successful florist business, he and his wife. So you listen to the voices. You determine what need it has under that. And I will post a chart in the Facebook group, MLM Millionaire Club. I'll post a chart there. Look on the third box, because that's a box of needs. I collected these from studying many needs, Abraham Maslow and many, many other people's needs, lists of needs. I compiled it into one chart, one box, all human needs. It's from my own experience and people that I've studied, and put those in there. There are physical needs, emotional needs, mental needs, and spiritual needs. So you can look through that box, and you can say, well, what am I needing? And usually 3 to 5 needs will just pop out at you and kind of resonate with you, and you go, that one hits me, that one hits me. So if you don't know what you need, look at that box, because that is a hidden thing. We were taught not to need as children when your parents said, oh, you're not hungry. No, you're not angry. Don't be angry. When the kid was angry, needed an outlet for his anger, but parents says, no, you're not angry. Or no, you're not hungry. Or don't be sad, don't cry. So then we learn to put away our feelings and our needs. We get sort of dividing, put a wall up between them and us, so we don't get the signals anymore. So we learn to divorce ourselves from our feelings and needs, but these are the life force, the vibrant life force living within us that we need to be in touch with to be able to know ourselves and be able to succeed in life, and to have this commitment and to stay in the game. So when we care enough about ourselves, and we love ourselves enough to listen to our feelings and needs and to respond to them, then a beautiful thing happens to where we shoot forward. So that is what I suggest, how to get past the uncomfortable, which is a question someone had. Write down the voices that you hear yourself saying, probably from the past too, and then figure out what you're feeling and what you're needing, and then figure out how to meet that need, which can be building up your self-esteem, learning a communication skill, running a mind movie of yourself morning and night, seeing yourself succeed, and learn to be comfortable in that, so now it's no longer uncomfortable. See yourself talking to people and then saying yes. Expect the best. Prepare for the worst. They might say no, but let's expect the best. And expectantly give them your 10-minute presentation and expect that they're going to say, that sounds great. When do I start? How do I sign up? So expect the best, and you can almost be surprised when they go, well, I need more information. Oh, you do? Okay, well, I'll hook you up with more information, or third-party call or video or meeting. But don't fall over when they say, I'd like to go in right away. Have your application in hand, or walk them through it online, or whatever. Be ready. Don't faint and say, oh, now I don't know what to do next. I never thought this would happen. Like I never thought I'd live this long, right? So see success happening. Run the mind movie. See people saying yes to you all over the place. Let that come. Let that happen for you. Don't block it with, well, I knew I couldn't do it. this always happens to me. This is just the way it is. I have bad luck. You know, run a different mind movie. Run a successful one. And of you living the lifestyle that you want and have plenty of money to be comfortable, plenty of happiness, but best of all, that you've learned the secret of service and giving to people. Tim Sales tells the story of this man who, he says, you really know you're on your purpose, you're on your commitment, when you rush into the house to get some more product to go help somebody, and you happen to glance at the mail on the table and you see your bonus check there, but you don't even care how much it is. You don't stop and tear it open. You're too busy helping somebody. That's more fun than looking at your bonus check, see how much you got. He said, then you know you've got it. You've got that service. And Tim's a wonderful guy. I had the opportunity to meet him and chat with him for a while, and I think the top earners that I know anyway are really, really about the service, and they know that is really the secret to staying in, not getting to a certain level and then stopping or anything, but you get hooked on the people that you help. You get hooked on helping people. So just a couple more fears. Getting past the uncomfortable, fear of failure, fear of the unknown. We trade security for the unknown. Fear of getting overextended financially. So don't spend, remember, like Jeff was saying, save, invest. Fear of what others will think or say. Fear of losing your friends. Fear of making mistakes. A lot of people thought it would be easier. So I think that fear can be remedied by looking at who you become in the process rather than wanting it to be easy. Rather than thinking, I'm just going to do this until I reach a certain level, then I'll kick back, and then I'll be on easy street. But always look to grow, because as soon as we stop growing, getting better, we stop growing. So always look to the growth and who you become in the process and the gift that is there for you within every challenge. I think that will keep you in the game and keep you learning the core commitments, coming back again and again. Be coachable, be humble enough to learn, be persistent, be consistent, be a student forever of life. You're a teacher as well. Whatever you absorb here, take back, give to your team, teach your team. See, we have a couple questions on the... Oh, who has a question? Okay. All right, back to Jeff.
Okay, we have some people who have asked some questions, and for those of you here, we will open the lines and also come through. If you guys have any direct questions, this is kind of a training class, so this is where to ask them. I'm going to start with David Roeder asked, how do I get past uncomfortability? Dave, I'm unmuting you. Do you mean specifically, like, how do you become uncomfortable at what? Contacting, inviting, doing what part of the business?
So, phone calls and texting. I know what I need to do. It's just getting to the point to doing what I need to do. To make the phone calls, texting people. Yeah, like online I can do, just offline. Once I have an appointment, I set an appointment with people online and then take it offline. That's not the problem. It's just the initial like cold call, so to speak. Even if it's a warm market, it's just the fact of breaking the ice.
Okay, so two things. I think having a goal to do it every day and then tracking it and also becoming accountable to someone would be the way to get past the uncomfortable fact, because find somebody who you respect that you don't want to let down and be like, look, I'm going to do this. I need to, first of all say, hey, look, I need to hit this new goal, whatever the next goal is in your company. And I need to hit this next goal, and I know by myself I'm in my comfort zone. I'm not going to do it when in my comfort zone. I got to get out of my comfort zone. And the only way to do that is to find somebody that I respect. I would pick somebody in your upline that you respect and say, look, I want to be accountable to you and I want to get this done. So to start out with, I need to start reaching out to people, and at the end of the day, I need to text, I need to call, I need to Facebook message you my activity. The results aren't as important as the activity, because we don't always get what we want, but if we're active, we know what's coming. You know, it's just like the farmer can plant all day, but he's not going to see anything grow right away. So we kind of have to have the faith that by doing the right activity, it's going to happen. Does that make sense? That's how I would go about kind of getting past that. It sounds like you know what to say. Yeah. You know how to say. It's just getting yourself to do it. Am I right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I've been doing this for, I mean, both things I've been doing for over 8 years. You know, the lack of and the, you know, the learning and knowing what to say, how to say it, when to say it. I've learned just implementing that, getting past that hello. So,
and I think that's how you do it. Hey, how's your day going?
Yes.
And instead of necessarily apologizing, I would say, hey, I don't mean to interrupt anything, but do you have 15 minutes? You know, so at least you're, I don't want to use the word apologetic, but at least you're considerate.
David, what do you think that you're telling yourself at that time? They won't want to hear from me. They won't like me.
I don't know. I haven't thought in depth about what one of the things, you know, what you were saying was bringing some ideas into my head, what I might be thinking. That I might lose the friends, or they don't want to hear me anymore. It's also what I did like was expect they're going to say yes, but then I was learned to keep my expectations low, so when they say no, it's not going to kill me. For me.
That kills you right there. You've already killed yourself by having low expectations of life.
Okay.
May I challenge?
I would kind of disagree with you on that, Beth. I would disagree with you, and I've done this with so many people. When you have this expectation all the time that everybody's going to do this, and it doesn't happen, I've watched people like crash harder than ever. What I tell people is you have to congratulate yourself with every activity. It's the activity you're doing, not the expectation of what somebody's going to. You can't control what's going to happen. You can control you. And if you've reached out, Dave, you're more successful. If you've just reached out, you're more successful, then it doesn't matter what they say. It's getting to the point where you don't care. That's where you want to get to. I don't care what you're upset. I don't care what they say. I know that the right people will come in if I do enough work. That's where you want to get to mentally. You want to be strong enough that no matter what the response is, I did the work I was supposed to do. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And maybe it's the same thing. John Wooden says, you know, that famous basketball coach, he says, do not look at the scoreboard. The main thing is that you do your best with every game and that you keep doing it. You do it for you.
Right.
And on the other hand, if I expect that people will say no so that I won't be disappointed, that's probably what they will feel and probably what they will do. They will say, this man does not, you know, has such low self-esteem. I don't want to join him. He expects nothing. He wants nothing. So there's that part of it too. You know, let us not look at the scoreboard. But if you are expecting a no and thinking that's what's always going to happen, they're going to live up to that expectation. Life will fulfill what we ask for and what we expect and what we want. So how do you have that expectation without getting attached to it and be discouraged if you don't get it? I have real high expectations, but when they do not happen, I am more in love with reaching out to people and doing the best I can because they deserve to know the option. And I'm more in love with who I've become, you know, a better communicator, a more caring person, a more understanding person. I'm more in love with that than the score. So I guess if I could say expect something, it would be that that person would have the option, that they would get to hear that they have an option that they could choose to accept or not. And that's your only job, is to put it out there and to keep doing that, like the seed sower. And you don't know, you can't control if the seed's going to come up or what kind of barren ground or fall on, or, you know, fertile ground or anything like that. So we keep doing our very best and try to increase our skills.
Okay.
But I'm still going to expect that some seeds come up somewhere. I'm just not going to predict, be, you know, disappointed how and when and how much and all that stuff. But I'm still going to expect that some seeds will take root and grow. I'm just not in control of how or when or how much.
Mm-hmm.
And it could even be after I die. You know, what if I introduce someone to network marketing, I pass away 20 years later, and then that person gets into network marketing 30 years later due to some seed I planted back then. So that's what I'm going to expect, is that I did the work, I did, you know, God's work, life's work, personal growth's work, and that I put that out. And if I did my best, I expect that there will be a result from something, somewhere, sometime. Are you okay with that, Jeff?
Yeah, it's just putting the expectation on any one person.
Oh, this person's going to get in and be my star person, and I see that so vividly that I choke that person and hound them and try to make them be my star person on my team, right? You mean like that?
Sort of. Sort of. People do actually do that. They're like, oh, but you know everybody. Oh, but you've got this quality. Oh, but you've got that quality. I think it's a little more subtle, but it does come across very, very badly in recruiting. Oh, well, you know so many people I don't know. You know, you're so much more successful at what you do. You would be able to do this. It's the classic, I'm going to go after the pastor of the church because he has influence and because the people need it. That's actually the worst way to approach.
And
whereas if you're just going to go out and do the work, if you just do the work, you are successful. That's what I'm trying to kind of get at, is take the expectation completely off of. It's almost like that's where faith comes in. Take the expectation off the people you're talking to and let faith kick in. I'm going to do the work, and the right people are going to show up.
There we go. So I think we're saying the same thing, in that when I sow the seed, I'm not going to dictate to God or life how, when, where, how fast, what it's going to produce. That has to be part of the co-working with life, right? You do your part, and then nature will grow the seed or eat it or whatever it needs to do.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty darn likely some seed are going to come up somewhere, sometime, somehow. Is that okay? All of the are we agreeing?
I think we're good on that, yeah.
Yeah.
I know we have some more questions here. Jim had a question as well. Thank you, Dave.
Okay, ready for Jim's question?
Jim, your question, I believe, was getting people out to events. What do you say? What do you do?
More the weekly events.
Okay, so like
a weekly presentation, kind of like what we went over tonight, rather than the Super Saturday or whatever you call it, the monthly events. It's more to draw people to kind of be interested in what the heck you're doing, and then actually have them come to the weekly presentation, whether it's Monday or Thursdays or whatever day it is. So.
Well, I wrote this list of 10 things that you actually want to walk people through. And you'll get stopped along the way with most people. But these are 10 things that you want to walk people through. Number one is you want to contact them to begin with. You know, hey, are you open or do you have time to listen? Can you do me a favor? You know, there's all different ways to contact, but have you contacted them? That's number one. Number two is you actually present it to them. Obviously, there'll be some people you try to contact, you're never able to get a hold of. There's some people you contact, and they're like, yes, I'm ready, I can do it, but I can't do it till next Tuesday, and then it's next Friday, and then it's next year, and then it's, you know, when the trees grow, and and then they're having a kid in a car, and there's always something, you never get to the presentation. So number two is the presentation, giving the presentation to them. If you can get through the presentation, the next thing is for them to watch something else. Sending them a video, sending them something to watch or read. And everybody learns differently. It's just getting them information to look at. And some people will look at the information and be done, and that's as far as you get. You got 3 in, that's it. 4 is, that's where the third party comes in. I want to get them in front of somebody else to talk to. This is where a 3-way call or a Zoom or something like that comes in. Third party testimonial, and there's where your invite should happen. The reason why it's hard for you to get people out to events is because you shouldn't be the person inviting them. Which is different,
Oh,
right?
yeah, actually the company or whoever, the representative or not.
Anybody but you. You open the door and say, oh, I really wanted to introduce you to this friend of mine that we work with in this program we're working on. When would be a good time that we could all link up on a phone call? When would be a good time we could link up online? And then instead of you inviting them, you have the upline invite them and say, hey, you know, now that Jim showed you this program, I'm working with him, great guy, you know, fun guy. I know that they have an event in Colorado. If you are interested in getting more information, rather than me sending you a bunch of stuff or trying to tell you over the phone, it'd be great if you guys have a meeting in your local market, and then I could, you know, if I was that person, I could just ask you, well, where's the local event at, Jim? You know, do you have the address? Well, Jim's going to text you over the address, and then it's actually the third party that's invited your person, not you directly, and then you can be like, yeah, man, I'll see you there, you know.
Yeah, I'm going, you're going. You know, I'm going. You know,
yeah,
I'll see you there.
Or
and then
if you want another great trick to get people out to events, and this goes for everybody, great trick to get people out to events is, hey, I know the event's here. Go find wherever the local Starbucks, McDonald's, Mexican restaurant, whatever, and find out, you know, Coke or coffee. You know, hey, let's go grab a Coke or some food before we go into the meeting, or let's go grab coffee before we go.
That's a good one.
I used to offer. I was like, well, I mean, when do you get out of work? When's the meeting? I said we could always grab a quick bite to eat. We don't have to eat dinner,
Right.
but at least get a snack. There's a Mexican restaurant, and I used to meet 4, 5, 6 people for the Mexican restaurant, and then I'd get everybody talking. Oh, what do you do? What do you do? What do you do? You know, what's your background? Okay, what's going on? And I said, oh, okay. Who knows what the hell we're going to? You know, and I would joke, and they'd be like, well, you're the one that invited us. You don't know what we're going to? And I was like, I'm just kidding. So you make very light of it, that we're just going to go hear some information, you know. Hopefully the guy's good, you know.
No, or just, you know, before I go to, you know, this briefing, I'd love to have a cup of coffee with you or you know, and give yourself 15, 20 minutes before that just to meet up with them and say, oh, by the way, I got to be there at 6:30 or whatever, and then mosey on over. So
yep.
Either way, you know, they'll decide, and then you're not, you know, pushing the rope. You're more tugging. So
yep.
Good.
So
thank you.
Number 4 was third party. Number 5, can you get them to the open house itself? You know, there'll be a lot of people who come to open houses. That'll be the last time you ever see them. The last time some get in, some don't. Just get them there. If you can get them to an open house, get them to a training. So that's number 6 is get them to a training. Number 7 is get them to a regional. Number 8 is get them to a national convention. And the last 2 things. Number 9 is get them paid if they get in.
Yeah.
And number 10 is get them promoted. And if you can do all of that, this is what's funny. If you can do all of those, and people are like, well, what do I do? I said, you know all the stuff I did with you? Here's that list of stuff we did. Go do that with other people. You won't get through the whole list with everybody.
Right.
But if you could literally track each person that you ever talked to and where they got through on this list, You're just trying to advance them one step further. What too many people do is they'll get somebody in, and then they'll try to go from a casual date to total marriage commitment for life too fast. You're coming across too strong, and it doesn't make sense. And that's where you can scare people off. Because you're too like, oh my gosh, well you have to, and there's too many have-tos. Nobody has to do anything.
Right.
So with that, I mean, your job is to
give the rest of this list from after get to a training.
I think, yeah, we can. So we've got contacts number 1. Number 2 is present. Number 3 is get them to watch something or listen. You know, something that's pre-recorded or pre-videotaped. Number 4 was third party.
Mm-hmm.
Number 5 is the open house.
Okay.
Number 6 is the training.
Training. Okay.
Number 7 would be get them to a regional event. Sometimes called a Super Saturday, sometimes called a business, you know, what do they call them? Business building something. Business building conference, I've heard that too.
So, you know, your chances of getting somebody to a monthly event without going through those first 6 steps that would almost make it impossible. Not impossible.
It's not impossible, but I made a rule I'm never bringing somebody to the weekly event that doesn't already know what they're coming to.
Yeah, oh, exactly. I mean, that's what you got to work into. So I've got about 3 or 4 of the steps, and you know, next week will be the third party, but you know, it does take a little while to build that up. So
yeah.
And if not, you know, you can't ask them to do the monthly event, you know, without them knowing anything.
It's hard unless you have some prior relationship. Unless you have some prior relationship
Right.
and say, hey, you know,
hey, this is what I'm doing Saturday. I think you might be interested, and let's go together and check it out. So.
Yep.
Good.
7, Becky, was the regional.
Okay, got it.
8 was the national convention.
Okay.
Or a convention. It doesn't have to be national. Number 9 is get them paid.
Ooh, yeah, that's really important.
That's important. And then number 10 is get them promoted, because in a lot of cases you can get somebody paid and they don't promote. But if you can have both of those things happen, they get the money and the recognition, which is you want really both to happen.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, I just got a low battery on my Mac, and I'm ways away from my charger. So I got about 2 minutes left before I won't have a choice but to stop talking. So, Beth, do you want to open up the lines and see if there's any more questions?
Yes, and just real quick, next time is core number 8, which is attend a monthly regional. Yes, we can open it up. Maybe we could even talk if you have to go, Jeff. But you better turn off the recording first, right?
Yeah, let's do that.